On 9 August 1965, Singapore became an independent country. There were flags, official announcements, and a new national proclamation. But Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew was not celebrating. During a televised press conference, he struggled to control his emotions as he announced Singapore's separation from Malaysia. Most independence stories are about countries fighting to leave. Singapore's story was the opposite. Its leaders had fought to join Malaysia, only to be pushed out less than 2 years later. Now, a small island with no natural resources, limited land, high unemployment, communal tensions, and almost no military had to survive alone. So how did a British trading colony join Malaysia, get expelled, and become one of the world's most successful nations? Singapore sat beside the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most important shipping routes. In 1819, British official Stamford Raffles established a trading post there, through an agreement with local Malay rulers. The British developed Singapore as a free port, attracting people from China, India, the Malay archipelago, the Middle East, and Europe. It became a multicultural commercial center, but political control remained British. That image of British power collapsed during the Second World War. The British had promoted Singapore as an unbeatable fortress, but their defenses were prepared mainly for an attack from the sea. In December 1941, Japanese forces advanced through Malaya from the north. Singapore fell in February 1942. During the occupation, the island was renamed Sionan II. Its people suffered shortages, forced labor, and brutal repression. The Chinese community was particularly targeted during the Suk Ching massacre. When the British returned in 1945, their flag came back. Their reputation for invincibility did not. After the war, workers, students, and political parties demanded greater local control. David Marshall became Singapore's first chief minister in 1955. The next year, he traveled to London to demand full internal self-government, promising to resign if the talks failed. They failed. Britain remained concerned about security and communist influence, and Marshall resigned. His successor, Lim Yew Hock, later moved Singapore closer to internal self-rule. Meanwhile, a new political force was rising. In 1954, Lee Kuan Yew, Goh Keng Swee, Toh Chin Chye, S. Rajaratnam, and others established the People's Action Party, or PAP. The PAP called for the end of colonial rule, social reform, and eventual merger with the Federation of Malaya. In the 1959 election, it won 43 of 51 elected seats. Lee became prime minister at 35. Singapore now controlled most internal affairs, but inherited overcrowded housing, unemployment, poor sanitation, labor unrest, and political division. Basically, Lee won the election and received a giant folder labeled, "Everything is urgent." Lee and the PAP believed Singapore was too small to thrive alone. Merger with Malaya promised a larger market and an end to colonial rule. The PAP had also split, and many left-wing members formed Barisan Sosialis in 1961. Lee believed merger would place Singapore inside a larger anti-communist federation. Malaya's Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman, worried that Singapore's Chinese-majority population could alter the federation's ethnic and political balance. But he later proposed a larger Malaysia, including Malaya, Singapore, Sabah, Sarawak, and initially Brunei. In 1962, Singapore held a referendum on the terms of merger. Voters received 3 merger options, but no simple choice to reject merger. Barisan Sosialis therefore encouraged blank ballots as a protest. The government's preferred option won the largest share. On 16 September 1963, Singapore joined Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak in the new Federation of Malaysia. Brunei remained outside. For Lee, merger appeared to complete Singapore's journey out of colonial rule. But the partnership quickly broke down. The promised common market developed slowly, while Singapore and Kuala Lumpur argued over taxes, revenue, and economic policy. The deeper conflict was political. Malaysia's governing alliance party, led by UMNO, defended a system where Malay political primacy and communal representation were central. The PAP promoted a Malaysian Malaysia, arguing that citizenship and political opportunity should not depend on ethnicity. To the PAP, this meant equal belonging. To many UMNO leaders, it looked like a direct challenge to the federation's political structure. Tensions increased when the PAP contested Malaysia's 1964 federal election. Serious riots involving Malay and Chinese communities also erupted in Singapore in July and September 1964. The merger had become a pressure cooker. By 1965, Tunku Abdul Rahman believed the conflict threatened Malaysia's stability. He decided Singapore should leave. The negotiations were secret. Goh Keng Swee and Malaysia's Deputy Prime Minister, Tun Abdul Razak, played central roles, while Edmund Barker drafted the legal documents. Lee resisted separation at first. He had spent years arguing that Singapore's future depended on merger, but the relationship had become impossible to sustain. The agreement was signed on 7 August 1965. 2 days later, Malaysia's parliament voted 126-0 to remove Singapore from the federation. Singapore had not achieved independence through a revolution. It became independent because the federation it had fought to join decided it could no longer remain. At 10 a.m. on 9 August 1965, independence was proclaimed. Lee Kuan Yew became Prime Minister of the new republic, and Yusof Ishak became its first president. The country faced immediate risks. It depended on Malaysia for water. British military withdrawal threatened jobs. Singapore lacked an established army. Unemployment was high, housing was poor, and communal trust remained fragile. Its survival depended on more than Lee alone. Goh Keng Swee led industrialization and defense building. S. Rajaratnam shaped foreign policy and promoted a multiracial identity. To Chin Chai developed national institutions. Othman Wok supported multiracialism and Malay participation, while Edmund Barker helped build the legal framework. The government expanded public housing, attracted foreign investment, strengthened education, and created a defense force. Singapore also joined the United Nations in September 1965. Its later success was not automatic, and it did not erase political restrictions, social tensions, or difficult government decisions. But independence had arrived as a crisis, and Singapore's leaders treated it as a deadline. Singapore had been a British colony, survived occupation, achieved self-government, joined Malaysia, and separated again, all within a single generation. Now it faced one final question. What happens when nobody else is coming to save you? For Singapore, the answer was not written in a proclamation. It had to be built. Like, share, and subscribe to Passport Studios for more animated journeys through history.